Hi, so we're here in our base camp here in the woods, and we've just come off the back end of the season running courses, and one of the questions that came out of that quite a lot was how I sharpen my axe, specifically how I sharpen it in the field. So I tend to do the same thing at home as I do in the woods. I don't do anything in particular with the axe other than use a pocket stone. So I used to carry the DC4 pocket stone that Fallkniven make. That basically does all of my tool sharpening in the woods. So I use it for my knives. We were cleaning up quite a rusty knife last time we used it, but I use that on the axe as well. And the way I do that is, if you've not used one of these stones before, the gold side is a coarse diamond abrasive, and then the silver side is ceramic, so that's the fine side. Most of the time, probably 80% of the time, I'm using the grey side, just to keep them trim, keep them sort of shaving sharp and touch them up. I only really use the gold side if I've either damaged the knife or axe, or I've sort of heavily used it and I've not had a chance to keep it sharp as I'm doing it. So the way I do this then is the same way you'd use any kind of sharpening puck or a stone, and that's just to pass it over the blade, because these have got a convex bevel, as in the actual sharp edge of the axe is a curved surface. You can't sort of lay the stone flat like you would with a Scandi grind knife, so there's a little bit more fluidity in it, and that's why these kind of small stones lend themselves to that. And what I start to do is just to polish one side of the knife, one side of the axe, backwards and forwards. And what I'm doing, if I can catch it in the light so you can see, is I'm creating scratch marks along the axe there, and I'm just making sure they're kind of consistent all the way along the edge, so I'm not wearing down one part of the bevel more than another. A good tip if you're sort of learning this skill is to use like a marker pen to do that, so you can kind of see quite clearly then where you've taken material off and where you've left it on. I tend not to do that anymore, just because it's one extra step to do, but also it tends to gum up the stones a little bit initially as well. And what you can also do is listen to the sound. So if I come a little bit closer to the mic there, if I start in the rear of the bevel, this back corner here, and move forward, you should hear a change in the tone. Yeah, so that difference just tells me where on the blade I'm working. And I do that evenly on one side, making sure I've done the whole bevel, and then I just invert the axe and do the other side. All the while, you'll notice I'm keeping my fingers down the bottom sort of third of the stone, so that as I'm crossing there, at no point should my fingers pass, the sharp edge, just in case I was to slip on. So they all stay down the bottom. I'm not pressing particularly hard, I'm just letting the stone do its work. Now, like I say, what I've done is I've positioned myself in the light so that I've got a really good reflection off the sun coming to me, so I can manoeuvre the axe a little bit and I can see the scratch pattern on there. And it's just the scratch pattern that I'm aiming to maintain. As we go down. And the action is just forwards and backwards across the stone, a little bit, side to side across the stone with a little bit of forwards and backwards motion, just to keep the burr in check, but mostly side to side. So if I slow that down, I'm essentially doing that. And then if we move this way, so you can see that what I'm doing then is, as I'm passing the axe the stone backwards and forwards this way, as I move up, I just tilt the angle to maintain that contact. So I don't kind of move up like this, but I just roll the stone. So these Robin Wood Bushcraft axes are brilliant. These are the ones that we use on our courses. They've got a really long cutting edge. Attacked by the dog. They've got a really long cutting edge. They're brilliant for kind of snedding up boughs, taking out branches, carving, basic stuff in the woods, and processing firewood. They're kind of ideal for that, really. They're sort of good practical pack size. I think they're a fraction shorter than the small forest axe. But they're a fraction heavier as well, so the axe does a bit more of the work for you. This technique works perfectly on the grand saws as well. So my small forest axe I've had for about 15 years, and that has been consistently for 15 years done almost exclusively with this stone, and it keeps it shaving sharp. Like I say, if you get good at this way of doing it, rather than say with home stones, it means you can get your axe in perfect condition anywhere. You're not sort of half-arsing it in the woods and then touching it up when you get home. You can just keep it consistently sharp anywhere. All I might do at home is strop it afterwards. So bring a stropping board, put some stropping compound on there and strop it. I typically wind up doing that about once a month or something in between courses, but most of the time it's just this method. That's all we do, so that's a pocket stone. And that edge now, just like a knife, you just run the thumb pad across it and feel for anything. And if I can get a practical stick somewhere, it might be a bit far down. That one there. You should be able to sort of feather wood with an axe if it's sharp enough. So this is obviously just any old stick off the ground. Just with the weight of the axe head there, I'm basically just holding on to it, maintaining the carving angle. But there we go. So that's how I maintain my axe. Thank you very much.